And some of the topics in the past have been pain, rhythm, endurance, if you guys remember those. You could go to creativemornings.com and look at old events, and then also just look at other chapters and what they do and see how those communities are. So at the end of our event today, after Hillary's done, we're actually going to have our 30-second spotlight. And I know we have some of us that are regulars and you guys know exactly what that is, but it's a time where you, me, everybody has an opportunity to get up and just share a 30-second spotlight on something in the community, something creative, maybe not so creative, but just a way for you to share and invite others to knowledge on something that you're a part of or you would like to invite people to. So start thinking now, and that way we can all share, because sometimes we have nothing to share. It's just not as fun as when we do. So be thinking. Okay, so now we're going to go on to our manifesto. This sets the tone for our events and shines light on our values here at Creative Mornings. So here it is. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in our neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome. So with that, our theme for this month is Native. You guys saw when we were registering, it's Native. And it was chosen by our Honolulu chapter. And the illustration, which we can't see right now, normally we have a screen, but we don't, but it's illustrated by Jack Soren. So where you are from shapes who you are. Where you call home influences your worldview. Understanding the traditions of your ancestors can help answer the question, where do I belong? Your connections to a place and the past should rightfully be a source of great pride. By respecting and celebrating the traditions and achievements of Native people everywhere, we can discover a deeper sense of connection and unity. What our history have to teach us? What can we learn from each other? And we have Hillary Kemp to share with us on this topic. Little tiny bio, and she'll say more. As a Native Phoenician who recently returned from a decade on the West Coast, she made a priority not only find, but build an even greater creative community in her hometown. Stray Native is a creative social group she's co-founded that brings passionate individuals in the Valley together to foster curiosity, creativity, and culture. Please help me welcome Hillary. Oh wait, I just turned it off.
Hello.
You want to use my?
Oh, because the music turns on.
I could turn it off though.
Let's see. Would you rather this or me projecting? Mike? Okay. All right.
I'll turn it off.
Back. I got two mics. Good morning, everybody. Let me get situated here. I know we have a great number of people on Zoom, so hence the mic here and this mic. But good morning, everybody. Good morning. So I'm usually on the other side of that camera filming our talks. And I can tell you right now, this is like exponentially more terrifying being on this side, but that's okay because I love Creative Mornings a lot. I've been part of Creative Mornings for about 8 years. I started going in San Diego when I lived there about 5 or 6 years ago. Started going 8 years ago, I should say. And I've always gotten something out of Creative Mornings talks. I've met people. I've been inspired by people. I've learned things. I've had crushes on people at Creative Mornings. So I always get something out of it. And I thought when the opportunity came up to speak today, I said, why not? It's a way to give back. And what I can say is I'm going to give you 3 things today to take away. 1, you're going to meet somebody. 2, you're going to learn something. And 3, you're going to make something. And maybe 4, you'll have a crush by the end of this. Just kidding. But really quickly, I'm not going to waste any of your time. So what I want you to do really quickly, 15 seconds, turn to your neighbor, introduce yourself, and tell that person where you're from. Real fast. And if you're on Zoom, say hello on the chat and introduce yourself. All right. That was painless. We got one of three things out of the way. Does that feel good? Cool. All right. How many Phoenix natives do we have in the house? Yes, yes, yes. All right. We got a handful of us. That's awesome. Well, as you know, the theme this month is native. And when I was trying to think about what I was going to talk about today, obviously, I think the natural thing to do is look up the definition. Raquel read the great description that HQ put out, but I needed to find what would work for me, what would resonate with me. And I love the simple root of the word native is born, to be born. And the lowest hanging fruit is I'm a Phoenix native. I was actually named after that street sign you see right there. Thanks to my parents who are right there. Super original, I know. But yeah, I'm a Phoenix native, so I know I could talk about that. The second thing is I consider myself a creative native, if you will. I'm an ideas person. I love coming up with concepts, ideas, using my imagination. My brand, my company right now is called Wild Ideas Work, which I'm going to share more about that. But I really am up here to tell you today that nobody should be afraid of being creative, and nobody should be afraid of sharing their ideas and bringing their ideas into the world, because when you do that, it expresses who you are. And for me, some of the ideas I brought to life throughout my personal and professional life have brought me on the journey that I'm on today. And I probably wouldn't be standing up here if it weren't for some of those good ideas and maybe not so good ideas. So I'm going to share some more about that. And then lastly, Raquel mentioned Stray Native, which is a social group that my best friend Daniel, who's back there, he and I started it last year. And it's a way for kind of like Creative Mornings, creative individuals to get together. We do different events around the valley. And it's really a way to meet other creative people in Phoenix. And it was my way of when I came back to Phoenix a couple of years ago, I needed community. And so in order to do that, yes, Creative Mornings is awesome, but I needed more than that. So we started Stray Native, and I'll share more about that. So before I talk all about me and yammer on about me, I think it's definitely worth giving a shout out to the true natives of our area of Phoenix. The true natives being the Hohokam civilization that existed here 2,000 years ago. They were the first peoples to settle here in Phoenix. And I bring them up for a couple reasons. One, obviously, we definitely need to honor the native and indigenous peoples who existed here long before us. But I think it's really cool to mention the Hohokam people for one specific reason, and it was a very creative idea that they came up with so that they could live and thrive here in Phoenix. So for my Phoenix native friends, I'm sure you all know this, but who can tell me the really creative idea that they came up with to be able to live here? The canal system. Yes, exactly. So like 2,000 years ago, the Hohokam people came here, or they basically arrived here from Mexico. They immigrated up, and they didn't have what here? Water. Exactly. So they figured out a way to dig over 135 miles of canals throughout the Phoenix area. And the canals that we have today were the descendants of those original canals. So if you bike the canals, if you run the canals, if you go to Oso for beers, those canals, thank you. And not just the canals, but the canals enabled them to settle here and grow crops and live here. And I can argue that the Phoenix that we know today wouldn't look the way it does if it weren't for the Hohokam people, because after they were here, the original settlers who showed up saw those canals, saw the potential in the canals, knew that we wouldn't be able to live here if it weren't for those canals. They rebuilt them, and eventually, and those original settlers who rebuilt the canals they were the ones who founded what is Phoenix, named it Phoenix. They were the ones who built the canals and restarted the city that is called Phoenix, because they call it Phoenix. It rose from the ashes from the original civilization of the Hohokam. So anyway, shout out to them. And if you want more information on the native and indigenous peoples who lived here before us, I'm definitely not the knowledge source for that, but there's so much information online. The University of Arizona, my alma mater, bear down, they have a great website and resources on that. They have a really cool interactive map that you can go on and click, put in your zip code, and you can find out the indigenous peoples who live wherever you live. Or if you're from a different part of the country, you can find out those tribes and peoples who live there. So it's really cool. So anyway, I'm so happy that I didn't have to put together a slide presentation, because I did that for too long in my past lifetime. And so this is what you get today. It's my box of wonders. Cool. And I'm going to share my story, my 39 years on this planet, in a series of ideas that have taken me on the journey that I've been on. And starting with being a kid here in Phoenix during the summers, you basically had one of two things that you could be doing in the summers. You're either at Sunsplash or Big Surf, rest in peace, Big Surf, right? You're either in the pool or you were inside. And growing up, I was either swimming, or I was indoors watching Nickelodeon, or I was drawing and making and being creative. That was definitely one of my favorite things doing growing up. And you get to see here some of my early masterpieces, the cactus. I'm going to pass these around so you guys can see. But some of my early creations were, just being out there and drawing. The bubblegum book, really creative. And then I eventually evolved to some hardcover masterpieces here. We got the Haunted Court, and where's the Arizona flag? So kind of like a choose your own adventure. Where's Waldo? But this is the stuff I loved, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I just remember making those and loving it and making those things. And I also love to make things for people, the people in my life I loved. The golden rolling pin was for my grandma. She was a great cook. So I made her this trophy, and I'm glad that she kept it. Pass that on. And yeah, so being a kid here in Phoenix, creativity was kind of my thing during the summers, being indoors. And I eventually went down to University of Arizona, like I mentioned, studied marketing and media arts, fell in love with TV and video, and did some really cool and fun stuff for our on-campus TV station called UATV. Did anyone go to U of A here? Yeah, bear down. All right. This right here, this is a relic. It is a DVD of a crib style show my friend Brewster and I produced called Dorm Life, where we go around and interview people and have them show us their dorm room decorations. So I don't have a DVD player, but it's real. But getting to be creative in addition to studying was really fun for me. Can you guys hear? That's really loud back there. Okay, cool. I had some cool opportunities, internships with the Discovery Channel. Daniel and I did some fun stuff for Heineken USA. We won an award doing a campaign for them. And I really got to see how creativity could be applied to a major, a profession. By the time I was a senior, I discovered what branding was and realized that that was the path I wanted to go down, because of the idea that branding is really all about ideas. It's all about concepts and the foundational elements that drive a campaign for a company or drive a commercial or media. And I wanted to figure out how to work in branding. And I decided I was going to leave Phoenix or leave Arizona after I graduated from U of A and get the hell out and go to California and work for a branding agency. That didn't happen. It was 2008 when the economy tanked. And that was okay because I came back here and worked for an awesome, a really awesome architecture firm called Smith Group, and got to design proposals for them. And I really got to learn about graphic design and learn the skills in that aspect of creativity. I loved it. I got to spend more time with my family. My grandma, who I made that rolling pin trophy for, I got to spend the last years of her life with her while I was here. And I called it my Phoenix 2.0 era. And in the back of my mind, I still wanted to get into branding. And that was something that I just knew I needed to do. There was a company in San Francisco called Landor Associates. And they were like the original agency that started branding. And so I was persistent, bugged them at least a couple times a year, let them know I was still here. And they finally gave me a job. And I moved to San Francisco in 2011, thinking that I'm out of Phoenix. This is going to be awesome. San Francisco, I'm working for a branding agency. And it ended up being not the case. It was actually not sunny there. So after like, I don't know, 3 days of being there in the cloudy, foggy San Francisco, I was like, what am I doing here? The job ended up not being what I thought it was going to be. I learned a lot. I learned the business of branding. I got to work on some really cool big clients. But the thing about working for a big company, which I'm sure a lot of you know, and a big agency, is it's hard to see change happen. It's hard to see your creativity come to life for some of these brands. And so I had a hard time. I was struggling. Not only the weather, the job, it was just rough. So the one thing that was fascinating to me about being in the Bay Area and any port city is that they have these huge cargo ships going in and out of the bay, bringing us our things. And I thought, okay, how can I get on one of those ships and go somewhere? So I did the research and I found a company, a travel agent out of New Zealand, who was able to book passage for me and my partner at the time on a giant container ship. So on my 30th birthday, I was walking up the gangway of the CMA CGM Centaurus, which is a giant container ship that had, I think it held about either 2,000 of these or 20,000. I'd have to go back and check. But I spent 21 days on the Pacific Ocean with no internet, a lot of books, a lot of journals, and basically cleared my brain. It was incredible. If you have questions, because a lot of people usually do, ask me after. I didn't stay in one of those containers, but it was incredible. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I still talk about it to this day. But like I said, I did a lot of introspection. I did a lot of painting with one of these little Altoids tins. I'm sure you've seen some of them on Etsy, but this was my original one that I took on my trip. And
Super crazy.
You can pass that around. And actually, I have a giveaway at the end of my talk that might include a couple of those. But anyway, on that trip, I realized I needed to get out of San Francisco and made the decision to leave and move to San Diego 3 months later. And the moment I got into San Diego, guess what was shining? Yeah, the sun. I was immediately probably like 10 times happier just because of that. The sun was shining, it was warm. I found my people there. I got to work for two really incredible branding agencies, Myers Ball and Forfin Creative. If you guys are on Zoom, shout out to you guys. I learned a lot. I made a lot of great friends. And San Diego was, I called it my spirit city for the 6 years I lived there. And it was there that I really got to explore my creativity a little bit more. Yes, I had great friends. I had a great job, but there was still something in me that needed to be explored creatively. Going back to loving creating things for people. I also loved sustainability as well. And so I started making postcards for friends, for my family. I'd send postcards to my family in Phoenix here. And I wanted to create some sort of stationery concept that would allow people to make a greeting card, maybe in a coffee shop, but actually make a card and send somebody some love. And I came across this obnoxiously green 1971 postal Jeep on Craigslist. A guy in LA was selling it. And I knew I have to do something with this. Obviously, this isn't the Jeep. But my friends made me this Lego replica of a Wrangler. But essentially, I came up with this concept where I would drive up to different markets, different events, Balboa Park, and I'm going to put the mic down for 1 second. I would park and I'd open up the back. The back would come apart. Table would come out and you could make a greeting card out of the back of the Jeep using recycled stamps that I have in the back that I had you guys use at the beginning to design your greeting cards that we're going to come back to, or postcards, I should say. And you could come up, make a postcard, create it, and then I would mail it to anybody you wanted to mail it to. That was part of the offer. And it was awesome. I got to meet so many people. I made journals. I would sell these journals. And San Diego is teeming with craft beer boxes. And so I would cut those down and use the recycled cardboard for the cards. And it was so much fun. I met amazing people. I actually got to set up at Creative Mornings for their Valentine's Day talk, and people came up and got to make Valentines, and it was so rad. It was the coolest thing. It was doing this was, I felt like I knew what I was supposed to be doing. Has anybody had that feeling where you're just like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Anybody? Yeah. Okay, cool. And it was the first time in my life that I felt that. I had jobs and all of that, but finally getting to express myself in a way that was helping other people express their creativity it just felt really good. And I felt very fulfilled and I loved it. And then 2020 happened. Yay. Yeah. I know that some people thrived during COVID. I don't know how, but I wasn't one of those people who thrived and pivoted and figured out how to make it work for me. Obviously, I couldn't go and set up and have people be using these stamps and touching things. Like nobody wanted to touch anything in 2020. So I wasn't going out and meeting people and setting up my business, which was called From, by the way. I didn't mention that. And so I felt really sad that I couldn't express that creativity. I was working from home. It was just depressing. I mean, honestly, I know people want to hear like positive things, but I was really depressed and went through a really bad tailspin. Excuse me. Became depressed, isolated, and I think a lot of people can agree it was just a shitty time. And I think for me, the hardest part was losing my mojo of inspiration, losing my imagination. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to do this even. I didn't want to pivot and figure out a way to make it work. I just didn't care. And so around 2021, made the decision to leave San Diego. I just needed a drastic change, needed something that was going to help me get the spark back, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate as creatives. When you lose the motivation, the inspiration, it's hard to find again. And if you have found that and have ways of finding it again, I'd love to talk to you. But I made the brilliant decision to quit my job, leave San Diego, leave my friends, sell my car, not that car, I kept that for a while, sell my regular car and move down to Baja, Mexico, which was awesome, except I was going through a pretty bad breakup and basically my life just imploded in front of my face. And it was shitty. So I didn't know where else to go. I actually did know where else to go. I knew that the one place that I could come back to that I would feel safe in was here in Phoenix. So I drove all night, landed at Daniel's house, slept on his couch for about a week, and just felt sorry for myself. But knew that I was safe. My family, my friends, you guys saved me, so thank you for that. But I still didn't have the spark, and it has taken me till now, even finding that spark again. But I knew that the only way I could find my motivation and my creativity and my imagination was getting those anchors back that I had in San Diego. One of those anchors being my community. So important. Like I said, Creative Mornings was such an important piece of what I did out there. And so I started coming to Creative Mornings here and immediately met some really great people, Peter and Gretchen, Yvonne. I met Claudia. I met so many of you here. And in addition to that, Daniel and I decided to start Stray Native. And like I said, I needed community. And so selfishly, I was like, we need to start something. We need to get people together. I need friends. And so we started Stray Native about a year ago. We hold four events a year where we get together and we do something creative in Phoenix that is centered around curiosity, culture, and creativity. And I'm going to pass around a little booklet. If you're at all curious, we send emails out with our events. So this little booklet is for you to sign up with your name and email. If you're interested, we'll send you more information. But we're still learning as we go. It's a new club. We're small right now, but we want to get cool people in Phoenix who are doing great things for our city and making a better Phoenix, because those are the people I want to be around. People who are making this city better. This is our membership card, by the way, that we made out of recycled wood. And Yvonne back there helped us do the woodworking. And so if you join Stray Native, you will get one of these cards. Yeah. So we fast forward to today. I have a company. It's actually the domain I purchased last year called Wild Ideas Work, for a personal website that I put together. And it really allowed me to originally share some of the ideas, the crazy things I've done, the container ship trip, starting from a few other things that I've done, put that on a website, and also share the work that I've done professionally for the branding agencies. But now it's evolving. Today, I want to figure out a way to inspire other people to live out their ideas. I think there's definitely a need for that. And I figured out that my superpower is helping people find their imagination and helping people discover the ideas that will help them on their journey. And so I always thought that if I gave a talk at Creative Mornings, I'd have my shit together. I'd be like this big deal person. Yeah, right. But I'm not. I mean, I think I'm a big deal, kind of, but I'm okay. But at least some of my friends and family do. But all that to say is that I'm here for a reason, and it's to share some of the cool ideas that have made me who I am, and the ideas that are born from the imagination, the native ideas that have taken me across the ocean, that have taken me on journeys, relationships, friendships. And I'm really grateful for that. And so I thought it'd be really fun. You all got a postcard when you came in here today that you were supposed to decorate. And if you were, maybe you were decorating it while we were sitting here, that's awesome. But I want to make sure everybody has a pen, because we're going to do an activity for the next few minutes that involve your ideas. So does everybody have a postcard? And for those of you on Zoom, like I said, just use a piece of paper and a pen. Everybody has a postcard? Awesome. Okay, so on the other side, of your awesome decorations. And on the front, it says, what, the Wild West of your mind. That's kind of my fun, creative way of bringing Phoenix into the mix and the West and being here. And utilizing some of the stamps that I had with my stationery business in the back. But on the other side, what I want you to do, I want you to spend about 2 or 3 minutes seriously thinking about an idea that you've had percolating in your brain. It doesn't have to be professional. It can be professional, it can be personal, but something that you've had floating around that you're like, this would be so cool to do. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's something you want to make. Maybe it's something you want to cook. Maybe it's an organization you want to start. Maybe it's some way of helping people. But seriously, like, think for a few minutes. I'm not going to yammer on, but I'm going to turn the mic off and write down an idea that you have. Because the first step in making an idea a reality is writing it down. So let's start there. Like I said, you get 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes.
Best year old coworker says hi, and Jen says you are a big deal.
Thanks. Thank you, Jen and Jess. I wish you were here. I wish all of you who are on Zoom are here. I think my grandparents are on Zoom. Did you write your idea down? I will find out who all was on Zoom after the fact, but I know that Jason and Lindsay are on there too. Shout out to you guys. If you want access to my DVD, let me know and I'll mail it to you. All right, raise your hand if you need a little more time. Okay. Brian is manning the Zoom. If you need more time, raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, I'm gonna keep going just so that you guys can get out of here at a decent hour. And if you're finishing up, people have been asking about the jacket. The jacket, can anybody, well, it already says Fiesta Bowl, so you already know. But I don't know if this is still the Fiesta Bowl's branding, but this was the jacket that my grandpa wore when he was chairman of the Fiesta Bowl back in the late 70s. And he is on Zoom right now, listening in. He lives here with my grandma. And I asked him if I could wear something of his that was Phoenix related. And so he immediately pulled this out. It had wine stains on it because I know that he definitely had good times. He still has good times, but I had to do some washing to get the red wine stains out of this jacket. But I love this logo, the sun. It's so rad. And it's actually an original Champion brand. So it's cool. It has the old Champion logo. If you want to see it, come grab the nape of my neck after the talk. But I just feel really proud wearing it. And I feel honored that he let me wear it because he is a badass. And I forgot to mention that my parents came out here in the 50s with my grandparents, both sets from Illinois. And so my sister and I are true Venetian Phoenix natives. My parents aren't. That's okay. Anyway, okay. Ideas. Can I get 3 volunteers who aren't afraid to come up and share their idea with the crew? Brian. All right, we got 1. We're not going to steal your idea. Okay. Let's promise each other we're not going to steal each other's idea. Raquel, I think you want to. All right, we need 1 more. Come on up. All right, Peter, you come up too. All right. Brian, you want to share your idea?
Yeah. I have this grandiose idea. Don't know if it'll ever happen to make this 501c3. Look at the 3 more chapters.
Say that again, louder.
And open 3 more chapters.
Yes, of Creative Mornings. Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Wait. Oh.
Yeah.
You get a prize.
I get a prize.
Yeah.
Out of the Wonder Box.
You get, well, I'm gonna pick it out for you. So I brought some paint kits and
No
some
way.
journals from my stationery business.
That's all.
And so I'm gonna give you want the paint kit or the journal?
The journal. Yeah.
Take it.
Your
All right,
box.
he's got a Budweiser journal now. Thank you, Brian. All right, Raquel.
Thought it was the edibles.
Yeah, they are in edibles containers. Reuse.
Mine is I want to create a community of tech professionals that travel together. I want to curate trips domestically and internationally where we grow, connect, and become inspired together.
Oh, you have that one. Awesome. All right. Come here, you get to pick. Oh. Well, you can pick out of the magic box. You want a paint kit or a journal?
The journal.
All right, they are Girl Scout themed. Thin mints or s'mores.
10 minutes.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raquel. I'll come back to you. All right. Oh, and can you say your name?
I'm Stacy Fisher.
Hi, Stacy.
I had, excuse me, I had stamped mine with howdy at the top, so I wrote howdy ideas. The first step is writing it down, just a nice reminder for all of us. So which of the thousands do I want to write about in this minute?
This is for the people on Zoom.
Hello, Zoom. An off-grid airstream or cabin or someplace to escape, to write and read, listen to records and snuggle and just escape. Destination unknown, little shout out to Anthony Bourdain, but needed.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Well, to get you started on your trip, yeah,
I do paint kit, and if I could do the Caminos. paint
you
kit.
can have the Caminos. All
Very on
right.
very on brand for me.
There you go. All right, Peter.
Hi, thank you. I am Peter. I am a graphic designer. I know that's supposed to introduce ourselves like that,
No,
but
that's great.
anyways, my idea is Gretchen and I have a van that we like to travel in when time permitting, but my goal is to set it up and either give art away, paintings I would make, and maybe Gretchen also, she's pretty talented. And just set up on the roadside and people drive by, and not to make money, but just to kind of share inspiration and get myself out of my own space and do some work that I enjoy and give it and share it. So that's our band and that's our paintings.
Awesome. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we got paint kit.
Paint kit.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, I have 2. Thank you. I have 2 things left. If we have 2 people who want to share, come on up. Come on up. All right, say your name and share your idea.
Hi, I'm Ilsa Manning, and kind of one of the things I've learned in myself, I love being creative, but I also kind of take the lead from other people with my ideas. And so one of the things I'd really like to create my own local version of the Guilty Feminist podcast, if anybody knows that. And where I host a monthly kind of nightclub style event, highlighting a local woman or two, and just focusing on empowering women so women leave feeling fabulously fierce and believing in themselves.
Yes, love that. Thank you. You want a paint kit or a journal?
Paint.
Okay, there you go. All right. Hi.
I'm Alicia. I'm horrible at being in front of people, but this felt relevant to the topic. So I have this idea that I've been putting together for about 6 months now. And I actually want to start a meadery and a cidery. And the branding aspect literally came to me Monday or Tuesday of this week. So here I am. And speaking of native stuff, it's very, what's the word? There's an aspect of lineage and what have you here. So anyways, I'm going to be working on a concept, and I bought the domain this week,
Yes.
called Oshun's Midori, which is part of the African diaspora. And she is a goddess of fertility, and her symbology is around honey and bees and mead and all of these things. And so it just felt, and everything's working really well together. Ideally, I will be doing this in Portugal with my friend's farm. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Here you go. Yeah, awesome. That was really cool. I urge you to mail those postcards. Mail it to yourself. Mail it to a friend. Mail it to me. I'll give you my address if you want it. But yeah, the last thing I'll say is ideas and my imagination have saved me over the years, over and over and over again. And they can do that for you too. They can do so many things. So I'll leave you with that and open it up to questions. Thank you. Thank you. Questions?
Cross trip, how did you do that? That's
The container trip. Yeah. Yeah. I knew that question would come up. I actually have a blog that explains it in more detail, but I Googled container ship travel, and apparently it's a thing, or it was a thing before COVID. And I found a guy in New Zealand who that's all he did. He was a travel agent for mostly people who are retired or had a lot of time on their hands who could go on these trips, because you kind of have to go with their schedule, the shipping companies. I know that our trip that we went on was delayed like a week. And so I was fortunate enough with the company I was working for, they let me go when we went. And it was incredible. We left from Long Beach, California, and went up to San Francisco, and left from Oakland, went under the Golden Gate Bridge and the Bay Bridge. Golden Gate was incredible. I got really seasick immediately leaving the Golden Gate and was terrified that it was going to be 21 days of seasickness. But C-bands work, those little wrist things you can wear, and so does Dramamine. Yeah, and if you want to know more, definitely reach out or let's chat after. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So what are you doing with your stationery stuff?
My stationery.
Yeah.
Good. I knew somebody was going to ask that. It's still, I mean, I still make things out of like the stamps. I still have the whole collection of stamps. The Jeep I actually did sell about a year and a half ago. I held on to it. A friend of mine in San Diego let me graciously park it at her place, but I sold the Jeep to a woman up in Long Beach who actually runs a juice business, and she runs the juice business out of the Jeep now, which I was very happy to hear. But I still make stuff, and occasionally I'll post stuff. I think I was trying to figure out a way once I was separated from the Jeep, how to figure out how to make it work online. But the Jeep was really the billboard. It was the center point of the business. It just drew so much attention. I was so attached emotionally to that car. I felt really cool in it. So not having it, yeah, I use the stationery in different ways. As you can see, we used it today. And so, yeah, I'd still love to figure out a way to use it for presentations, workshops, things like that, because I have all the stamps that I made and spent a lot of time and energy on. So yeah, it's still there. Thank you for asking. Laura.
Is branding your primary focus now, and how do people find you if they need help with that?
Yes, branding my primary focus? I would say yes, branding is still my primary focus. I like to keep it expanded and more loosely around videography, branding, design, marketing, and evolve to positioning myself really about ideas and helping people, whatever that looks like. I'm still figuring that out. That's evolving, what that business model would look like, consulting, but helping people either bring out the ideas. I mean, I did a lot of that as a brand strategist, helping companies figure out what is the unique thing about you that you can tell the world. So I have a lot of experience in that. But yeah, I would say branding right now. How do people find me? So on the back of the postcard is a QR code that is my work in progress website, wildideaswork.com. You can reach out to me on there. There's a contact form. I don't have my email on there just so spam doesn't find me, but just come talk to me afterwards too. I can give you my personal email. You can also find me on Instagram at HillerY. That's my personal for now. I don't have a business Instagram right now, but you can also see a lot of my stationery stuff on my Instagram, Never Stationery. It's on a link tree on my handle at HillerY. You can see the green Jeep in all its glory. His name was Al Green. Rest in peace. He's still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah, Brian. Since I sold the Jeep. Well, the Jeep wasn't my daily driver. I had a different Jeep that I sold in San Diego. I was carless for a while when I came back here, but now, speaking of ideas, I bought my grandparents' 2002 Honda Odyssey and redid it, built it out into a camper van, traveled across the country in it last summer. And I drive that around. It's the car that I drove down to college with and moved into my dorm, traveled down to Tucson with all my stuff in it. And now I drive it today. It has 120,000 miles and it's very discreet. And people think I'm a soccer mom and hail me and cut me off all the time. So if you see me in a silver Honda Odyssey, honk at me or something. His name is Homer because he's an Odyssey and he's epic.
Good.
Yeah. My favorite branding project and why? That's a great question. I actually would say the first thing that came to mind was a branding project I did with Forfin Creative in San Diego. It was for a smaller business called AO Coolers. And they actually were the original soft-sided cooler maker. I know that Yeti came along and all of these other people, Arctic, but these guys are out in California and they basically invented the soft-sided cooler that would keep things cold for like, I don't know, 24, 48 hours. And they needed help with their brand. And when you say you need help with your brand, it's usually a brand strategy problem. They didn't really have a core idea or concept that was driving them. They were really focused on their sales and getting into different markets. And so I got to spend some time with their leadership. This was during COVID time, so it was over Zoom, but felt really connected to the owner. I mean, he had started it back in the 80s or 90s, and he put his whole life into this business, and he was seeing the power of brand, Yeti, Arctic, these other guys coming in and just blowing him out of the water. And so we helped him come up with a core concept, which was all about who they targeted, which were and are the, what would I call them? The folks who are super active in outdoor world. They're the ones who are out in Glamis in the sand dunes. They have boats. I say those people because it's just not me. It's not what I do, but it was a very specific target audience. And we figured out that their whole idea of fun was just working hard and playing hard. And so we built a whole concept around that. Their tagline that we came up with, which was also their brand line, AO and go. So take your AO and go, hit the beach, hit the waves, hit the sand. And we built out a whole brand around that. now they have, I think the first woman in Saudi Arabia who's on their racing team sponsorship. We got to see that brand out in Saudi Arabia recently. And so that was really cool. Thank you. All right, maybe one more question? Yeah.
Does money ever hold you back from being creative or shape how you pursue things?
Does money hold me back from being creative or shape how I pursue things? Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want to do this thing.
Yes.
Probably have to have backing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if, yeah, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question. I think money does hold people back, and I think perfection holds people back. They want their idea to be perfect the first time around. And yes, it takes money to make things happen a lot of the time, but not all the time. I think if you can work with what you have and make a simple website just to bring the concept to life, or start a Pinterest board, or somehow bring it to life with the means that you have, because that will kick off what I'd say like a wheel of motivation to get you to take the next step. And so, you know, yeah, that would be my short answer is do what you can do with what you have, because don't let that hold you back. You can always do some aspect, make some aspect of your idea real, whether it's digitally or in the real world. And what was the second part of your question?
Oh. Just shaping how long.
Shaping out, yeah. One step at a time. I think I definitely wanted my stationery concept to be perfect every time I'd go out to markets and things like that, and it wasn't. It was never perfect. And your ideas will never be perfect. I could give a whole other talk on bad ideas that have also shaped who I am, but just try it. You got nothing to lose. Thank you, everybody.
All right, well, it's time for 30-second spotlights, but I do know Brian said that, yeah, we're gonna do a little Greenwood spotlight right now.
Hi everyone, I'm Paloma and I actually do events here at Greenwood, and this is actually my first creative morning and it was such a beautiful experience. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to thank all of you for coming out. I particularly when I started this year, I wanted to make events like this. So this is so inspiring to meet other creative people here, and we just wanted to thank you for coming in. If you wanted to wait 5 minutes or so, our bartender's about to be here, and we have coffee nitro stout on tap. So if you wanted like a coffee flavored drink, feel free to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who's got a spotlight? Yay, come on up.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Hi. I'm Laura. I am a hairstylist here in Phoenix. I do Hillary's hair. Not her color though, don't judge me.
She's a business owner too.
And Daniel and Kimberly. So anyways, I own a business in Central Phoenix called True Few. And I was gonna come up during the idea portion, but I had an idea over the past year that's been in my mind, and it just came to fruition at the end of last year where I was able to buy a building. So we're gonna be moving to 7th Ave and Bethany Home. Sorry, I'm nervous. You can hear the voice, but I wanted to just put it out there because in the spirit of community and places like this, that's what I want my building to be. It's called The Road. And we're gonna have the salon in the front, but we're also gonna have 4 suites in the back for other beauty professionals. And so if you guys know anyone or are, and people, we want to attract people that kind of want to get out there and start their own business. Like your question of having money and making that leap can be so scary. So we want the building to kind of foster that kind of first step where you're going out on your own, but you'll still have the support of the community. So we want, instead of being in a suite all by yourself, you'll still have that camaraderie and collaboration element, if you'd like. So if you guys know anyone, send them my way. It's called The Road Phoenix, and we can't wait to hopefully see you all there.
Thanks. Awesome. Anybody else?
Hi, good morning. First of all, I think great job, Hillary. I was very impressed with the natural speaking skills. So I'm Claudia Johnson, so you know me, I'm a photographer. And I did a presentation last May about acceptance, and it was accepting my ADHD. So since then, I've done a few things anyway, but I basically started a project photographing adults with ADHD. And Beatrice over here was my first model. And I did meet her here at CreativeMornings, who's also Hillary and a few others. So very grateful for that. Anyway, I'm still looking for basically people who'd be interested in modeling for me, doing this project with me. So I am looking for people who are beneficially diagnosed with ADHD, adults only at this point, and about 10 to 15 images of my work, including some of my other work, will be displayed at First Studio. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. There's going to be a show from May, June, and July. And the opening exhibit's going to be first Friday in May. So I'd love for you guys to come in. I'm going to be one of 5 artists total, and I'm going to be a photographer there. So anyway, yeah, come talk to me if you're interested.
Thank you. Okay, we're a little over, but we can do one more. 30 seconds.
Hi, me again, Ilsa. I just want to let you all, I want to invite you all. I am moderating a free author event at Changing Hands on March 5th. I am hosting New York Times bestselling author Jessica Buchanan. It is a night to celebrate the courage of women. We're going to be talking about her Desert to Mountaintops anthologies and touch a little bit on her New York Times bestselling book, Impossible Odds, which is her story of she was an NGO worker in Somalia, and she got kidnapped by gunpoint and held hostage for 3 months, and then was rescued by SEAL Team 6. So she's an incredible woman. March 5th, 6:30 p.m. free, Changing Hands. And I have little leaflets, QR codes.
Awesome. We've got a lot today. My little challenge at the beginning really affected you. Let's see. Awesome. Well, that wraps it up. Actually, our next one is at Hazel and Violet over off Grand. And I have a right. Yes. Susan Stoltz will be their speaker, and our topic is perspective. So hit up the brewery and feel free to chat amongst yourself afterward. Thanks, everybody.
Huh? Yeah, you're welcome. I'm good. That sun's warming up fast. I like it hot.
Oh, thank you. Well, I couldn't see over here, so I had to go to the car and get my sunglasses and my hat. So I could sit there and like stare at her through the gap.
Stare through the gap. Oh, that could be. What would that be a good like brand name for? Through the Gap. A hiking company?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work for a hiking company.
Yeah.
Through the Gap.
Through the gap.
Rugged
Camper.
outdoor shoes.
Yeah.
What,
Like
what did you say?
rental camper.
Ooh, yeah,
company.
Through the Gap. Camper van rentals.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna sit here and have a beer now because the meeting I was supposed to have got canceled, but I still have work to do, so I might as well sit here.
And it is a good place to sit.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see if Laurel's ready to get picked up, and if not, I'll join her.
Okay.
Yeah. What are you doing here? Oh, of course. You can grab a couple of things.